Hey, you've waited long enough. No introduction, let's go. Let's recap real quick since some details were left out in hindsight. At our first arrival in Selbina, we met with the mayor and he tasked us with collecting clumps of bee pollen. That part you know. The reason for this, however, was because some infamous pirate named Gilgamesh rescued a woman set adrift at sea, and she had spoken very highly of me once she regained consciousness. I swear, officer, I've never seen that woman in my life. Honestly, I'm just more surprised that the G-Man started collecting women instead of swords. Him and his crew were on their way to Selbina to find me and bring me back with them to introduce me to this mysterious woman. Bee pollen is a medicinal ingredient and was seen as a sign of peace for Gilgamesh. As well as a free trip to Norg, we had also gained early access to support jobs by completing that Rhapsodies quest. I take the boat and arrive in the faraway home of my ninja brethren, and head towards Greg's quarters in Norg. Upon entering, the mysterious woman turns around and calls me master. Excuse me while I bump up the age rating on this. She looks at me with elation in her heart and expectation in her eyes, but I'll say it again. I ain't never seen this woman in my life! When pressed, the woman said her name was Iroha, or Iroha, and asked my permission to tell her tale. She detailed that in our time she hasn't been born yet, and that she comes from a time where the world is shrouded in a thick and vile miasma that they call the emptiness. A Far Easterner trained as a priestess and studying under my tutelage, she had been working towards saving the world alongside her father and I. And although I had apparently saved the world numerous times at this point and completed all of the expansions, I was still undergeared for the final boss and died. Truly a sad tale. Before she could have given us any more information, she faded into light and left us with more questions than answers. All this talk of doom and gloom is ruining my buzz, so I rented out a chocobo to see what it was like. Run, Boko, run! There's no need to rent a chocobo now that Final Fantasy XI allows you to hop on mounts whenever at this stage, basically making chocobos more of a novelty. But it was still fun to see after my baby chocobo adventures. The music is very chill too. We made our way towards a mountainous structure that houses a mother crystal. While we were there, Lion made an appearance to tell us about a vision she saw when she stood next to the crystal, where people fled to all corners of Vana'diel trying to escape an ever-approaching darkness while she stood there silent and still. Lion claims that not everyone is aware that we're all protected by the benevolence of the Mother Crystal, and the structures and technology which houses them were created by something or someone far more advanced than any of us. But the Mother Crystals are many, and she can't be sure if this is the correct one she's looking for. Let me stop you right there, Lion. I know a thing or two about these so-called mommy crystals. They drain the land of ether, causing the blight to spread. So what we gotta do is crack every single one of them and learn to live without their benediction. She responded, Riley, you dumbass, you're still thinking about Final Fantasy 16. Right, my bad. Wait, wasn't I supposed to release this video before 16 came out? Never mind. So anyway, I tell her about Iroha's story, and that's very similar to the vision Lion saw. She promptly decides that her next best step is to find this woman. So I directed her towards Quiffam Island and said I'd be there shortly. Katala and I reached Quiffam Island, enjoyed the winter air, saw the sights, killed a few giants, broke a few... Wait, what is this portal for? A giant red monkey appeared from the portal and flattened us, clearly a boss battle way ahead of our skill level. Not cool, dude, I still have Sekiro PTSD. The portal seemed relevant to the Rhapsodies storyline, as Lion jumped in earlier to investigate, and just as I was about to dive in myself, Iroha faded in to warn us of the incoming danger. And, well, you see how that turned out. Katala managed to revive and retreat while I was getting my ass handed to me. I told you not to talk shit. But I wanted to... Katala and I clashed in terms of the direction we should take. He wanted to follow a guide and complete the story in release order. I wanted to go as blind as possible and do any story content as it reveals itself. The problem with Final Fantasy XI is that it doesn't fully accommodate either of our playstyles. So much story and expansion content introduces itself whenever it feels like. It's difficult to track who and what we should interact with. As long as I'm not being locked out of story content, then I'm all good. But the fear is real. Either way, I agreed to leave the portal for now. But don't think I'm done with you yet, big ass, gorilla ass motherfucker. One thing Katala and I did agree on was that it's time we upgraded to our preferred job classes. Unlocking job classes is far less hassle than they are in Final Fantasy XIV. Once you find the correct NPC for your specific job, you're given a short storyline and an objective to follow. Once complete, you're free to evolve without checking in with the quest giver every 5 levels. And according to my totally legit sources, my quest giver was waiting for me at his little home in Bastock. Now, let me present to you the ninja story quest. We're introduced to Insetsu, a father of 2. His youngest daughter, Kaide, revealed to us that her sister is Ayame, a samurai warrior that I've seen before but never met directly, and is somebody she looks up to immensely. Kaide wants to wield a katana and be a cool badass like her sister, but her father gets angry every time she broaches the subject. She has her suspicions that he's been visiting the Ten Shodo, a secret organisation of pirates and smugglers known to be housed within Norg's underground. Surprised to hear that Kagetora directed me here, Insetsu gets flustered. Even more so when Kaide runs in, overhearing our conversation. She accuses her father of teaching Ayame the way of the blade and is frustrated that he treats her so differently, refusing to let Kaide learn to be a samurai and be cool as fuck like her sister. When ignored by her father, Kaide runs out screaming that she hates him. It's okay, my man, my daughter hates me too. You have a daughter? No. Insetsu is clearly hiding something and is weighing heavily on his mind. He asked me if I could buy back a sword he sold through the Ten Shodo. Unfortunately for him, the sword had already been shipped to Norg. I told him that teleport travel had already been patched in, but when he looked at me confused, I just said I'll go in instead. I don't need to add existential crisis to this guy's list of problems. He needs to grab a piece of coral from the Koraloka tunnel in Bastock to exchange it in Norg for the sword. En route to the Koraloka tunnel, I came across the same 2 guards that blocked me in the last video. But they won't be able to stop me this time. No, I'm on the path of the ninja. I live in the shadows, breathe darkness. No one can stop. Oh, I'm allowed in now? Alright, cool. Ninja. I ran through the tunnel at super speed and quickly got overwhelmed by about 50 spiders, so I went back to town to gear up and grab a map. Heading back to my objective, I summoned a team of badasses to help me out, including Tension, the master from the Four Lords quest in Final Fantasy XIV.
Tenzin, 'tis I!
What is he doing in my trust party? I have no idea. I have a lot of trust members that I probably shouldn't have yet. Delving in deep and skipping some giants, I eventually found another invisible objective. Yay! Clicking on it summoned a bunch of butt monsters that I quickly got rid of. I don't know why they were so protective of a strangely shaped coral, but wait, how strangely shaped was it? Wait, no, let's not think about that. Speaking to Ryoma and Norg, I was able to trade the coral for Insetsu's sealed dagger, which I returned to him promptly. I cannot express in words the gratitude I feel towards your kindness. I sold this to support my family, but then I realized that my daughter needed it once more. His younger daughter Kaide overheard our conversation once again and berated him for buying another sword for her sister Ayame while refusing to listen to her constant pleas. At this point, Insetsu's determination and truth comes out. Enough, Kaide. I have never purchased a weapon for your sister. Every katana she owns was acquired by herself and herself alone. He hands the sealed weapon to the child. This dagger was your mother's. Stunned by this reveal, Kaide holds the dagger close and listens to her father intently. Yes, your mom was a ninja, and that in your hand is called a shinobi katana. Long ago, your mother Yomi and I lived in Norg, a haven for the Far Eastern arts. I was just a lowly pirate, while your mother was a master of ninjutsu, almost as strong as she was beautiful. They left Norg in search of a simple life once they found out that Yomi was with child. Despite her past and this drastic change in life, she was proud of the path she had taken, as the hardship she endured had made her into the strong mother she was. Kaide's mother became sick, and perhaps realised that she had not much longer in this world. But she fought for 10 long years, until she exchanged her life for the life of her second daughter. You, Kaide. We can see Ayame making return to home before overhearing her father detail his past and peacefully leaving afterwards. Dude, you've lived with ninjas your whole life. Learn to keep your voice down. Sorry, I'm interrupting. Go on. I never wanted you or your sister to take up the katana. I was against Ayame when she wished to travel, aiming to become a samurai, but Kaide, each day you remind me more and more of your mother. and it's for that reason that I've been so protective of you. Perhaps I was wrong. He describes to his young daughter that ninjas do not wave their swords in open battle. They lurk in the shadows and stalk their enemies, that one must have the highest level of patience and concentration to draw that blade. Her mother left that blade sheathed to remind her of that, and now that blade will be passed to her youngest. Go to mygillshop.com, fast delivery, buy Gill today. That's it, all yells and shouts are off. The road you travel is for you to decide, but do not forget the message that remains in your mother's katana. After the scene fades out, Setsu hands me a scroll that belonged to his late wife, which teaches the art of ninjutsu. A surprisingly beautiful quest with solid character development. Big props all around. I met up with Katala to see that he had unlocked the Dragoon pet class. In Final Fantasy XI, Dragoons are trained to fight alongside their dragons in battle, rather than to fight against them like in 14. Now that we're going to be leveling again, I wanted us to look good while doing it. While missing the Glamour plate system from 14, 11 does have something similar. Of course you can dress up and save gear slots for Glamour, but there's a really simple command that I am very fond of using. If you dress yourself the way you want, then /style lock, your gear will look the exact same no matter what you equip until you turn the style lock off. Picking items through your inventory seems cumbersome as you have around a dozen inventories to store your equipment in, rather than just the one large inventory. But it's actually super handy, as you can get access to almost all of your equipment no matter where you are. Think of it like being able to equip or glamour anything you stored in your Final Fantasy XIV retainers or dressers from any location at all times. Girl, you looking fine! Now let's get to leveling up our new jobs. We went about getting from level 1 to 30 as quick as possible. The proper way to level in this game is to go to a location with mobs around 2 to 6 levels above you and just chain kill mobs one after the other, continuing on to other areas and locations once your level starts getting higher than the enemies you're currently facing against. If any of this sounds familiar to you Final Fantasy XIV players, it should be, as it's the same leveling method used for Eureka and the Blue Mage job. I love this leveling method, as you essentially tour from one location to the other, mowing down all new enemies you come across in a veritable storm of mass genocide and experience. The leveling up process in current day Final Fantasy XI is very quick and easy, as my brother and I reached level 30 in our respective job classes in about 3 hours. The brutality of old school Final Fantasy XI has certainly eased, since as far as I can tell, you don't level down or lose any experience from dying, as we've died a good few times and have yet to see any loss of experience. Maybe when I hit the level 50s, I'll understand the crippling anxiety of leveling down, but not today. I was pretty disappointed with Ninja's early leveling abilities, as I only had one until around level 30, an ability that kills me so I could do some decent damage. Final sting for you blue boys out there. Having Thief as my support class made things so much easier as I unlocked Sneak Attack and Trick Attack again. As for my weapon loadout, I'm going with a dagger in one hand and a katana in the other. I've no idea if this setup works, I just want it to look cool. Weapons increase their skill level upon repeated use, and will give you access to unique abilities. Ninjas can also equip shurikens and throw them automatically during an auto attack for extra damage, but make sure the shop is open before you actually go buying them. Thank you, my ninja brethren. Dude, you've been here for like a day. Now that we're all set up, we report back to Trion in Sandoria and handed in the Devoy report. He sends me on my way as he prepares for a large-scale invasion, totally ignoring the fact that I have been requesting a new apartment for months now. Come on, dude. My old one has a dead Moogle in it. I'm getting tired of all this bureaucracy. It's high time I spoke to the king about how he runs his city. I gained a permit from Halvar to meet with the king of Sandoria. I strut into his audience chamber to give him a piece of my mind, only to be halted by 2 knights. I would have shown off my ninja skills at this time, but after seeing how big their swords were, I thought it best to just shut up and listen. I've been appointed to serve the Sandorian embassy at Jeuno, continuing relations with the 3 nations. Katala and I reach Ru'Lude Gardens in Jeuno, and we take in the sights. This place is gorgeous, a little too pompous for my tastes, but at least I'm not sleeping in the chocobo stables again. I met up with Necklebrit at the embassy and told the ambassador is presently away conducting an investigation into Doubtful Tower, but should be back momentarily. A knight named Wolfgang, wait, what's his name? Wolfgang? Alright. Wolfgang enters the embassy seeking an audience with the ambassador. Back of the line, buddy! As he gets inquisitive as to why the ambassador is investigating such a dangerous area, another person enters seeking audience as well. What the hell is up with all this queue skipping? I know I'm quiet, but geez, I'm not invisible. Rude! While Nobuo and Wolfgang have a tense discussion about dealing with foreigners, I slip out the back and make my way to Delphook Tower. You guys can stay here and argue. I'm getting my appointment one way or another. Before we get into the big stuff, please consider dropping a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to support me as an artist and help improve the quality of this channel, consider buying me a coffee on Ko-fi.com. It helps out immensely and my appreciation cannot be overstated. Alright guys, buckle up your seatbelts. Shit's about to get real. Passing through Quiffam Island en route to Delphook Tower, a cutscene starts to play. It seems Wolfgang had the same idea and led a garrison towards the tower. The camera pans across the area and into the sky as the title Chains of Promethia appear on screen. Since I've started the series, I've been told two things numerous times: that I should be playing on Horizon 11 and that Chains of Promethia has arguably the best story of the expansions. Needless to say, the moment the title dropped, 11 had my full attention. We also get a sneak peek at what's happening inside the tower. Men in robes are trying to either gain access or take control of whatever strange technology is housed inside, but it doesn't seem to be working out for them. I think I recognise these robes from the Church of Sandoria, and if I learned anything in life, it's that religion and ancient technology mix as well as oil and water. Told ya. As the ground begins to rumble and is felt all across the nations, Bahamut himself rises from the ocean floor and he looks pissed. He roars with a warning that the Keeper of the Apocalypse's arrival is near. Whether he's talking about himself or an even more powerful figure is unclear at this stage.
Let the blood of the gods spill forth on the soil of their creation.
Damn, this guy knows how to make an entrance no matter what game he's in. Katala and I make our way into Delphook Tower. The dungeon already feels so different from what we've seen so far. Large open spaces with floors and levels to climb without loading screens. As a Trust user, I really appreciate not having to recall my companions after hitting the next room. We fight our way through some giants and machina and we get an update on Wolfgang's garrison. It seems like they have no idea what's going on either, just that something called the Society called for their assistance. As he ponders this, Wolfgang is slammed against the wall by some blast of light which cracked open the door they were guarding. Regaining composure, he calls for Crooked Arrow and his soldiers to fall in line and make ready. Reaching the tower's centre, they find nothing except a young boy collapsed on the floor. Wolfgang orders his men to bring the boy back to Jeuno's infirmary, with the intention of extracting information once resuscitated. At the end of Delphook Tower, we find Jima, the famous ambassador, lying on the floor. We collect her and bring her back outside the tower, and we make our way back towards Jeuno. Sometimes I feel I'm the only one doing my job around here. Back at Ru'Lude Garden's infirmary, the demon kid is sleeping soundly despite nobody tucking him in. The resident doctor Nobuo and Wolfgang exchange a few words in the other room. Nobuo says he sees no external wounds and can't figure out why the boy is ill. When pressed for more information by Wolfgang, he states he's not in the business of sharing patient data, especially towards Knights of the Juko Guard. Big Wolfie respects his wish, but stresses the boy is an important witness that will be taken into custody once he regains consciousness. Nobuo asks what happened at the tower, what the device he saw was for and what the Jeuno scientists were planning to do with it, to which Wolfgang responds in kind that he's not in the habit of revealing affairs of the duchy. Well played. The doctor ponders over the corruption he suspects is housed within Jeuno, comparing it to an incurable illness, but is immediately shut down by the big bad wolf. Wolfgang makes the call that if the boy shows no wounds, then he's ready to be transported to the Grand Duke's palace for questioning. These two may have been friends at some point, but clearly their duties are on opposite ends of the board. As I have a friendly chat with Nobuo, he brings up rumours he heard about something strange happening near the Sea of Shumeo. Presumably, word got out about Bahamut's arrival, but I'll be damned if somebody catches that legendary Pokemon before I do. We're interrupted by some large commotion outside brought about by the ducal guard. When Nobuo exits the room, I notice to my left the Chaos Kid standing upright and staring me down. The silent exchange is tense. What does happen when two mutes are in a room? He shows me an amulet held in his hand, as his eyes glow and I receive a vision. What's shown is unclear, but looks like a temple of absolute virtue and cleanliness. Very beautiful, much sparkles. The high was great, but the landing was rough. We exit the infirmary to see a man in the same church clothes making orders alongside the ducal guard for the release and transportation of the boy. Looking at this guy now, it's possible those in the tower weren't religious zealots, but Jeuno scientists. The doctor does what he can to stay the ducal guard, but to no avail. As Wolfgang orders his men to claim the boy, they are left stunned by what they see next.
Am I being detained?
The child walks right through the guard and vanishes shortly after, leaving the soldiers in disarray and Jeuno in lockdown. With the amulet still in my hand, I try to gather information on the best way to proceed. There's talk between the local guard about how travellers have been drawn into strange whirlpools that have been appearing in the Valkyrum Dunes and Quiffam Island and never coming back. And whatever the cause is, it may have something to do with the recently shattered teleport stones located at the Crag of Holla, Dem and Mia. We have encountered these strange temple structures during our travel throughout the three nations, and we decide it's time to investigate. Starting with the Crag of Holla, we entered the ancient structure just in time to see two ducal scientists running out from the inside, only to be pulled back in against their will by some mysterious force. With all doors locked, our only option is to use the ancient devices to teleport us inside to the unknown. Once teleported inside the Crag of Holla, the camera trips out and pans across a purgatorial area named Promyvion. I love this place as it reminds me of the final dungeon in Final Fantasy X, but also many locations found in the Dark Souls franchise. Very early in Promyvion, we hit a crossroads with the same small enemies on either side. Katala went ahead and took the left path.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Little did we realize that just because an enemy looks the same doesn't mean they are the same. Some enemies in 11 have the word Apex in front of their names, and they just happen to be a little bit stronger than their counterparts. And the left path just so happened to be full of Apex predators. This may have seemed obvious to some, but I usually keep my slash names off. Katala got tagged by a small enemy and dropped face first into the ground, while I stood to the side laughing my ass off. I forgot to record it, but no worries, I've recreated the event in stunning detail. Enjoy! We regrouped and continued on through multiple floors of creepy sci-fi dudes trying to invade our minds or something. It was a trippy, dreamlike experience that I'm not forgetting anytime soon. To reach the other floors, we had to look for an entity surrounded by pillars and take it down to proceed. It attacks with a massive knockback that does huge damage and pushes everyone near into more enemies. I never underestimate anything that looks like elementals from FF12. The entity serves as a gateway to the next floor. As we got closer to our destination, we saw a massive temple-like structure and made our way inside. Inside, we found a teleporter that brought us directly to the Mother Crystal of Holla. Before we could get any closer, that Jeuno scientist Nagmolada and his lackeys interrupted us. He starts going on and on about how the crystal's light give us strength and joy, how its light keeps us alive and well. Seeing us as somebody who would attempt to harm the crystal and that balance, he takes aim at us, only to be halted by the Chaos Kid who appeared behind me. While the scientists are held off, the child reaches out and shows me another vision of some type of priestess contemplating the end of Vana'diel as the emptiness approaches. The final battle betwixt the Twilight God and the Dawn Goddess is at hand, and not a single soul shall escape its devastation. The architecture and technology of the room she stands in is very similar to that of the Crags, yet more perfect. Could these be the original architects, or is this a vision of the future? Promptly kicked out Promyvion, we make our way across the nations to the Kraiga Den. Before reaching inside, Sid and Ayame stride in behind on Chocoback. Ayame warned me not to go any closer, yet Sid seemed more than happy to let me do as I please, encouraging my adventurous nature. Wolfgang makes an appearance before them, curious as to what their reason is for being here. Sid claims they're checking out the crystal line, as readings indicate the flow of stable energy has fluctuated, leading to the shattered crystals as well as some great beast's arrival, blaming the Juko scientists for the cause. Wolfgang encourages Sid to stop looking into Duchy affairs, but that he's here to find the cause of the missing parties and to put a stop to it and anyone who gets in the way. I thought best to leave Mommy and Daddy to their arguments, so I just went ahead inside. As I enter Den's Promyvion, a voice is calling me in. Katala and I make our way through and take down the boss of that dungeon with no issue. We had once again made it to the Craig's mother crystals, only to find the Chaos Kid lying on the floor. As we went to check on him, we get another vision of a temple hidden within some snowy mountain's tree, and witness a light piercing through the chest of a young woman. Once we were teleported out of the Crag once again, we made our way to the final crystal's location, the Crag of Mia. Upon entering, we saw the scientists had already arrived and anticipated our entry. You may have thought you had the upper hand, but I too have a few tricks up my sleeve. Alright big man, what you got under them big old sleeves? Oh, I'm about to knock this bitch out. He says he has no intention of focusing on anyone other than the boy and orders Wolfgang to kill me. Bro, are you sure you're not with the church? Wolfgang discourages the order as he sees no conclusive evidence that would warrant my death. Nagmolada reminds him of the importance of this citadel that houses the crystal, and that as the secret keepers it is their duty to be its protectors. That darkness has already befallen the recent two Craigs and believes the boy to be the cause and that we led him here. Not a moment later, the boy appears right behind me. Not now, dude! Nagmalada speaks directly to the boy, claiming that he was born from the emptiness that the Dawn Maidens have feared for thousands of years, and that the child had brought it into our world. With the child refusing to respond, Nagmalada orders Wolfgang to kill the boy, and that any more hesitation will result in him ending up like his father. Wolfgang swiftly cuts the boy down, but is distressed that the monster child did not fight back. I'm starting to like Wolfgang. He's not afraid to take bold orders, and is still cautious of doing the wrong thing. Whoa, we playing Shadow of Colossus now? Consumed by the encroaching darkness, we are plunged directly into Promyvion Mia. Reaching the end, we fought the Progenerator, a monster design reminiscent of the aliens from War of the Worlds. Reaching the Crystal of Mia, Nagmalada walks in injured and warns us that the evil boy had released the emptiness and its destruction will leave nothing in its wake. We see the child in the air, touching or communicating with the crystal and creating large dark portals which consume us all. We gain yet another vision of a young child and an approaching Dawn Maiden. You will never betray me. The will of the crystal is aligned with the will of the world. That which is broken into 5 parts. There will be no salvation. It exists within the soul of every living person. We are all vessels. Let us pray. To the goddess. To all the gods. Chains of Promethia, Chapter 2. Stranded somewhere to the west in a place named Luface Meadows, Nagmolada and I appear unconscious on the floor. He wakes up to see a large figure fly across the sky at lightning speed and leaves me for dead. Three potatoes come across my unconscious body and think it's a good idea to rob me. The youth these days have no respect. I know I just called them potatoes, but they didn't hear me say that. After a bit of light jogging, I spot a cave that leads me into the Tavnesian safehold, where I'm reunited with Nigmalada. He suggests we keep the peace for now as we're surrounded by locals. Bitch, I've already forgotten about you. I'm chasing after 3 turn-up children now. A man named Justinius approaches, saying they have little to offer outsiders and asks for our reason for being here. Before I answer, 3 Taro show up, requesting we get the death penalty. After pointing the finger at them, Justinius smacks them upside their head. Satisfaction. We're told we're free to roam as long as we don't cause any trouble, and we nab our long-awaited teleport spot. I was eager to continue on, but it was suggested we complete the nation's story of the base game first. Knowing I could now return here whenever, we took the teleporter and returned to civilization. Heading back to Jeuno, we attempted to continue the nation quest, but we got lost and confused as our next objective is a big one that involves locating several key items and the completion of multiple town quests for us to gain access to 3 big dungeons. Even Katala, who tried to follow the guide, had a hard time deciding what we needed to do and where to go. Once we collected a couple key items, following hidden dialogue at the Tenshodo underground, as well as flickbits and other townfolk, Katala was confident enough that we could aim for the dungeon in Devoy. We only had a couple days remaining of our current sub, and he decided to push through to finish the base game Nation Mission storyline before it ends. After some trial and error finding the location, we discovered the cave that we needed to enter, only to find a large fog wall that we couldn't go through. It was at this moment Katala decided it was time to wrap things up on his end. He wasn't enjoying the game as much as I was, and he felt he'd seen enough. The game hasn't been fun for some time now. It feels more like a job to do. I'm going to accept I missed the boat on this entry and bow out now so I don't walk away hating it. A fair reason that I wasn't going to argue. Final Fantasy XI won't be for everyone, and you need a great deal of patience for the game's old school systems, UI and pacing. All I could do was thank him for helping me start this journey, and I'm hoping you'll all do the same. This won't be the last we've seen of Katala, as he would soon make his soul's debut with our co-op journey into Elden Ring. But back to 11. I'm not gonna lie, at this point I was lost. I wasn't sure of my next direction, and I had lost my travelling companion. I was close to giving up myself, but I was determined to see this story through. And how could I give up? The world of Vana'diel is fascinating, ripe for exploration and discovery, with a dedicated community and nostalgic story, music, animation. I'd found my footing on YouTube with this series and received so many lovely comments from you guys wishing to see more of our journey. So I made a decision. I would take a month break, come back to it with fresh new eyes and determination. Where I go and the path I take will be mine alone, and I will continue to share the journey with all of you. So with that, I take my leave for now. But there's something I gotta do first. I'm back, bitches!